got some content out, got it done, had to make it happen. So I did.
Shots on goal and efficient, right? It didn't take you a massive amount of time.
2 posts in an hour. It was pretty good.
Let's talk about that, because I'm sure many of our listeners who are coaches and creators on the internet are wondering what the creative process of the great Syatt Fitness is like. Tell us about it.
You just want me to go in on the whole creative? All right. I mean, we'll start
on your creative process.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on a number of things, right? I would sort of think about like a piece of content as the process of creating a piece of content, I would say, is similar to when you're about to begin a workout. If you're about to begin a workout and you only have 20 minutes, the way you approach that workout is going to be different than if you have 90 minutes, right? So the entire mindset and approach changes. The intensity, the rest periods, the exercise selection, everything changes based on how much time you have. And that's just one aspect. Never mind the goal of what the workout is and the goal of the content. So there's many different things. But today's a really busy day. I had a podcast this morning. I have this podcast with you. We have the mentorship Q&A immediately after.
With the hot seat.
I try and sit down and have breakfast every day with my wife and daughter. So I was doing that. So the amount of time I had for content today was much less than I would have liked to. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to do a whiteboard video. A whiteboard video takes way more time and effort and thought. So I was just doing like a selfie video just to my face, just talking. And the ultimate goal of every piece of content is that like it just has to have at least one practical, tangible piece of advice that the viewer can take away from it immediately. Like what's one thing that the person can take away immediately? It's called like the immediately practical action is what I call it. What can they do immediately to improve? So I basically have to outline what is the one thing they're going to be able to take away from this piece of content that's going to help them improve. At this point in my career, like very rarely is there an IPA, a practical action that I haven't already used before, right? So I'm like, a lot of it is just very similar pieces of content recreated in different ways. But so I knew I had an hour. I got the first one done in about 35 minutes. And then literally within the first few minutes, one of the first comments was about bacon. And I was just like, screw it. Like, I'm feeling good. I'm just going to go in and make a relatively easy piece of content talking about what if someone says you're not allowed to eat X, Y, or Z. And so I try and add humor to it. I try and add education to it, but I just try and keep it as simple and basic as possible in a way that helps people and keeps their attention.
Of the 35 minutes, how much of that was thinking about what you were going to talk about? How much of that was filming, and how much of that was editing and uploading?
Editing takes up the majority of the time, even in these quick videos, because the editing is really making the jump cuts. So when I'm filming a selfie video, I'm doing it on the Instagram app, and I'm just holding down the circle button, the record button, for however long I record that individual segment, and I collect all of them in one and together, and then I just chop them down so there's like no time in between one segment to the next segment. It's just bum, 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 bum. Thinking of what I'm going to say takes up the least amount of time. I would say thinking of what I'm going to say, thinking of what I'm going to say takes up the least amount of time. At this point, it just rolls right off. Like, I know what I'm going to say, whatever the message is. Just if it takes me a lot of time to think about what I'm going to say, there are two potential issues in my mind. The first is I don't know what I'm talking about, which means I need to study it more. Right? It's like, if I don't know what I'm going to say about a given topic, then I better research it more. The other reason it might take a while is because I'm overthinking it, right? It is where, like, all right, I'm trying to sound too smart. Maybe I'm making it sound, I'm not actually breaking it down as simply as it needs to be broken down for the person watching it. And so for me, my audience isn't high-level coaches, even though many high-level coaches do follow me. That's not the people who I care about educating, or the people who I'm concerned are going to be joining the inner circle. I'm talking to the average everyday person. And so in that sense, I'm going to make this as simple as I can. So the actual filming of it, or what I'm going to say, is takes the least amount of time. The second most amount of time is actual filming, because there are times where I'm trying to say something, I stumble over my words, maybe I notice myself getting a little bit ranty and I've got to start all over again, that one clip, that one segment. So very rarely will I ever film a clip completely on the first try. I film a video, an entire video on the first try. Very rarely. Usually I'll have, sometimes what I'll do is I will record the exact same segment twice, and a segment is like 1 or 2 sentences. I'll record it twice in a row, and then I'll see which one I think sounds better. And by sounds better, I really means like which one might be more welcoming. Oftentimes the second one will be better than the first, because the first one is sort of like how I consider a rough draft when you're writing an article. And the second one is, it's almost like when you first meet somebody, it can be a little bit awkward. You might sound a little bit weird. The tone of your voice is a little bit higher or different. And then once you get more comfortable, you can smile, you can relax, let your shoulders down, and all of a sudden it becomes more natural. So sometimes I'll literally, especially this is like the first intro of the video, I'll record it. And then without deleting it, I record it again. And then that way I can compare the two and look in the second time. I have a little smile. My tone is more relaxed and more comfortable and confident. So that is and I've never really even thought about that. It's just something I've done naturally, where just it makes sense for me to at least do it 2 times just to see which one. Sometimes the first one's better, but usually the second one is better.
Yeah, and you're just doing those back to back, so it's really it's taking very little additional time. And then after you film the intro twice, then you're filming the next segment. Maybe you film that one twice, next segment, next segment. And then when you go back to the editing process, any that you filmed multiple times, you listen to both and you pick the one that sounds better / more welcoming.
Yes, correct. That's exactly right.
I feel like people are going to like this.
Hopefully.
I think they are.